perfect pitch is a skill. It's not a skill. It's an innate ability that many people don't have, that a lot of people kind of, some people want it. It's a hearing skill. Why am I bringing this up? Because I used to want to be a musician. That was my dream, to be a musician. Since I was 10, since I first discovered electric guitar, I was like, I want to do that. Because it's the coolest thing ever. At least it was in the late 90s. It's not cool anymore. Now it's like all about like rap. Yeah, hip hop. Yeah, white music is not cool anymore, but it was when I was growing up. Like nothing was cooler than an electric guitar. So I was like, I want to know how to fucking improvise on that. Not just play like other people's songs. I wanted to be able to do what Jimi Hendrix did. Not to his level, not replicating what he does. I just want to be proficient enough musically that I can do it to his degree. Like, in a way that allows full creative expression. This is a very serious episode. Like, I'm not being funny right now at all. This is 11 a.m. And so I used to really want to be a musician, and I knew as a very small kid that if you have perfect pitch, you're going to be able to play whatever you want, because you'll just know what's in your head, how to play it on a piano. Because that's what I wanted. That's what I had, the ability. I have the ability to compose music. So I hear shit in my head, and I was like, well, it'd be nice to be able to just play as it comes out. I don't want to have to like think about it, like, okay, what note is that? No, I want to just have something in my head and play by ear. That's what playing by ear means. But not everybody who can play by ear has perfect pitch. They could achieve it with other forms of training. You could develop relative pitch, which unlocks your ears. It opens up your ears to be able to decipher what's going on between the notes, not the notes themselves, just what's going on between them, the intervals. So you could hear a chord, a complicated chord, and you could hear every single note in it because it has a certain sound, and because you could actually hear the individual notes, because it unlocks your ears. It improves your hearing. It's a very good skill to learn. Perfect pitch, on the other hand, is very difficult to learn. That's the controversial thing, and that's why it's interesting to me, is that a lot of people say that it can't be learned. There's some truth to that. There's not a lot of data to prove that it could be learned. There's a couple studies, and a lot of people don't know what it is. So that's one of the reasons that I'm fascinated by it. I've been fascinated by it since I was, like I said, a small kid. But then I didn't have it. I don't have perfect pitch. I could have had it if somebody like sat me down at a piano when I was a toddler and said, okay, remember that this is a G. Remember this is a G sharp. Just remember all the 12 sounds, because we all have them in our heads. The only difference is that people with perfect pitch have mastered the actual intrinsic quality that makes a G, or a G sharp a G sharp. That's what they have mastered. Usually at a young age. Sure, they could have it without knowing it. That's absolutely possible, that they just never really put it together, that they have it. But everybody has the subconscious ability to detect the intrinsic quality, or at least they have it internalized. This is what I've just been kind of figuring out, even though I've also read it or heard it other places by the authorities on the subject. Because very few people are authorities on this subject. That's also why it's interesting to me. I like very niche ideas or topics. And even people that have full perfect pitch is also called absolute pitch, because it's absolute. You could tell, any note. It has nothing to do with where it is on the scale. It's an absolute chromatic quality. It's like a color. Every note is like a different color. You could compare it to that. But it's sound. It's a sound color. It has nothing to do with the visual spectrum. So anyway, even people with perfect pitch don't really know that much about it. They just know they have it, and they don't like it because they complain, because they could hear when everything's a little bit off. But they don't know. I don't know. Like, just because you have it doesn't mean you know much about it. Doesn't mean you know if you could teach it to other people. But a lot of people say, no, you can't. It's impossible. So that makes it kind of this like very like sought after thing. It's like this thing that you have it or you don't. It's like so it could be confused as a talent or a gift. It's not a fucking gift. It's only a gift in the sense that it's very, very difficult to acquire as an adult. But when you're in the critical learning phase of your life, it's extremely easy to pick up, which means it's not really a gift. It's just something you have to develop in early stage development. So does that mean it's impossible to learn as a 30-year-old? No, it's not impossible. It just takes a lot of practice because you have to slowly open your mind's ear. Every day, you got to keep exercising, you got to keep lifting the weights, and then naturally, if you're doing it correctly, you will gain perfect pitch. And the problem is to fully gain it, to be just as good as somebody who had it as a kid. That part I haven't done. I haven't achieved that because I gave up because I finished the course. I bought these CDs way back in 2010. And I did the lessons every day. I got through them. I finished it, and I started developing perfect pitch. Some, like 40%. I never made it to full perfect pitch where I could just, boo, that's a G flat, boo, that's a B, boo, C sharp. But that's what it means to have perfect pitch, is that it takes absolutely no thought. It's a passive skill. You don't have to think about it. You just hear a note. It's like detecting a color. You look at a color. You don't have to think about what color it is unless it's like one of those illusions or whatever. It's the exact same thing with perfect pitch. You could just be exposed to any sound for any length of time, and it just hits your ear a certain way. It hits in your brain, perceives it as, it categorizes that sound instantaneously as C sharp, for example. And so to achieve that takes a lot of practice to get it to that high level of skill. Because I know what it is. I know what it feels like to be able to tell a C from an F sharp or anything, something like that. Anything. There's a difference between every note. If you don't have perfect pitch, you can still hear the difference between a B flat and an F sharp. A really good example is an F sharp compared to an E flat. Those two notes are so different sounding. Forget about where they are on the keyboard. Yes, there's an interval, there's a minor third in between those. So they have a da 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 da, but the notes themselves, regardless of the interval, don't let the interval confuse you. You can still hear passively, without trying, that the F sharp has a certain twanginess that the E flat does not have. The E flat is like mellow and very soft. Doesn't matter what instrument you play it on. Every instrument is gonna have an F sharp sounding more twangy, like for the E flat, like clearly those are different tones. So to actually fully memorize and internalize those sounds, yeah, that's what perfect pitch is. So the question is, can it be achieved? Yeah, I think so. You just need to really practice and know how to practice correctly, because you can't just force yourself. That's the fucking thing that is so interesting about it to me, is that it's so like elusive. Like most people don't know what it is. Most people think it's impossible to achieve. Most people don't. And then what's the point of having? Is there any reason to have it? Does it help you as a musician? Does it help you in other ways? Yes. Yeah, most people who have perfect pitch tend to be better at music. They have some innate talent in music, whether they pursue it or not. Even if you just lie around if you're not a musician, if you have perfect pitch, you're going to be able to like put together a mixtape that just fucking goes together fucking beautifully, because you'll just have like this. You'll be able to know, like, okay, they're in similar keys subconsciously. This is not. You'll just know, okay, yeah, I have a better appreciation for music, and it helps you perform music better. But because it helps if you know exactly what each note sounds like. If you're singing a song, you'll know if you're correct. It just makes it easier. It makes it more fun, because it adds another dimension to music that you didn't know was there. It's like, so you see through on like you're playing 4D chess. That's a great way to describe perfect pitch. Instead of just hearing the linear, you're hearing just the relative sounds, but with perfect pitch, you're seeing like through the bullshit, and you're seeing colors. So it's like going from seeing in black and white to seeing in color. So yeah, you're going to have a much better time in the music field, but also it helps you in the field of everyday communication because you could understand people better. When I first started developing it, I first noticed when I was actually like making progress, because I was not a musical. I was not born with a good ear. Everything that I learned or everything I accomplished, I had to like learn everything. I was not born with any musical talent except for the ability to compose a little bit. I knew I had that, but not. So everything else I got to work on. And you could hear people better. You could understand people better based on like over the phone. If somebody calls you don't know who the fuck it is, you could tell who they are just by their voice a lot easier. So anyway, that's enough on that topic. And it's something I'm trying to achieve actively right now. I gave up on it in 2012 because it's like, okay, I finished the course, but I don't know what exercises to do to refine it to the point where I could just be like, bah, it's a B flat, bah, it's an E sharp, whatever. I don't know. I don't have it yet. I want to have it. So another really quick thing about that, because I happen to be kind of interested in it, is that we all have a subconscious ability to choose specific tones in the same way that people with perfect pitch can identify them. For example, like anytime you are speaking with an inflection in your voice, what does that mean? It means you're choosing specific tones to condone or to convey an emotion or a form of communication, some type of communication. If you speak monotone, nobody's going to know what the fuck is going on. If you're just a robot, you might as well just text it out. So the whole point of spoken word communication is to use tonality. Otherwise, what's the point? There'd be no reason to like interview criminals. There'd be no point of depositions if there's no such a thing as inflections. Anytime there's like, oh, an inflection in your voice, like, what did you say? That right there, that raising of the pitch at the end, why did I choose that specific pitch? Yes, I chose to raise my voice. See, talking, wow, I'm spending way too much time on this topic. This is going to be very time-stamped, so you could easily skip through it. Okay, very, very obscure topic. Okay, people with autism have perfect pitch. Speaking of monotone, I don't know if that's why they talk monotone. No. So anyway, why did I choose those pitches? Well, when you're talking, it's not like you're just saying notes. You're moving your voice up and down all over the chromatic scale. Like if you saw a piano, and every time you talked, the piano like showed which notes were playing as you were like, what notes your voice was playing, it would be all over the map. Even if you just said a simple sentence like hello, that right there, hello. Can you believe how much of a stretch that is? That's like right there. I just sang a fucking melody, a swooping melody. Not really a melody, but like I took a note and I pitched it down almost an octave. Hello. If you really accentuate it, if you really you could tell that was more than an octave just saying the word hello. But I was doing it. That is a very not normal way to say hello. That's a very sexual way. Like if you say that, if it takes you a full octave to say the word hello, you're probably trying to get laid. Hello. But that we do that all the time. So that's why people with perfect pitch don't really get annoyed by somebody just talking out of tune, because usually they're not landing on any specific note. They're starting on specific notes. They're ending on specific notes. Like with that hello. Hello. I chose subconsciously, without even thinking, a note to start and end on, because that's that's the most important thing, because people pick up on that, and that's how they decipher what you're doing, what you're trying to communicate. So if you just say monotone, okay, here's a good example of perfect pitch and why it helps. Not even why it helps. We all already utilize it. You don't need to master it for it to be useful. The reason it's useful, the reason we evolved to have it, and also why dogs have it and other animals, is for communication. It's to be able to deliver a thought without having to write down 1,000 words that we didn't have when we were cavemen. When we were cavemen, we were just grunting. So we had to know what different grunts meant. And we all know this. Or we still have that ability. If you had nothing but grunts, let's just try to do a podcast with grunts. Okay. Mm. 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 So you can see the podcast has not gone down in quality even without word. It's pretty much just as good as a podcast. And that's because of the power of tonality in spoken word communication. You could have a conversation all day. You could tell by the grunts what I was trying to communicate. Like, like all it is just taking a pitch and moving it up and down the chromatic scale. So let's actually apply words to it just to make it a little easier. So, there's a lot of phrases, and this touches on this opens up another can of words are not that important, which I just kind of demonstrated. Like the podcast, just as good, just with me grunting into a microphone, So you shouldn't be too hung up on people's choice of words. Like if somebody uses a word that's not quite the right word for the context, it's like, oh no, you should have used that word. You would have looked better if you used this word because it's more precise. It's like, okay, who cares though? You get what I mean. So a good example of people taking words a little too seriously is the word gay. Like, yeah, we all say it. I mean, at least everybody I associate with says the word gay in everyday conversation. Like, that's gay. Has nothing to do with gay people. It just means, I'm not interested in that. Like, that is not that cool of a thing. That's gay. That sucks. It's just another way of saying that sucks. So it's not that the words don't really mean much. It's like, oh, that's gay. Yeah, that's gay. But the way you deliver it does matter. And so this is what inflection is. So you could say that's gay, or you could say that's gay, or you could say that's gay, or you could say that's gay. So there's many different ways of saying it. Like one means, oh, I'm not interested in something. One means you're attacking something. So those different things I'm doing involve pitch. So we're choosing these pitches in our heads. And I could even do it with real notes in like C and A, like C, that's gay, that's gay. So, you could say that and be perfectly in tune with music. That all I was doing right there was playing C. I was singing, basically. I was singing in C-A. That's gay. So I wasn't really moving my pitch. I was only saying, that's gay. People do that all the time. People could say that and it would be normal. Like that, you could be that musical. That's gay. And nobody would call you on. Like, why are you singing? I'm not. I'm just inflecting to show that I'm neutral on that subject. Because if you say, that's gay, who cares? You're not that passionate. If you go up a little bit to F sharp, let's try that. That's a C sharp. That's gay. That's gay. Whoa. All of a sudden, it has a completely different meaning, even though it's the same words. That's gay. All of a sudden, you could tell that I'm actually a little more critical. I sound a little more homophobic. Like, maybe I am being a little problematic when I say, that's gay. But not really. It just seems like I'm being kind of like dismissive. Instead of, that's gay. That's gay. That's gay. Very different meanings behind the tonality and all. And so music is in that. We're using an F sharp, a very twangy note, versus a C, which is more mellow and rounded. That's gay. That's gay. So we do that all the time. Like we use B flat. We do like, it doesn't matter. Who cares what the note actually is? I don't have perfect pitch. I'm just saying we do choose absolute pitches to denote different emotions. Like, what? Huh? No. So that's a good way to train yourself to maybe develop perfect pitches, is by actually thinking like, why am I choosing those tones? What are those tones and why do I choose them so often in my everyday speaking voice? I don't know. Just something I figured, just something I found very fascinating. I'm not going to spend any more time on this because it's a very boring topic to most people.